It was difficult to say initially because the tumor was so vascular and difficult to characterize. The first real diagnosis I had was of an anaplastic astrocytoma, which is a grade 3 brain tumor. With brain tumors, it's grades rather than stages, but means the same kind of thing in terms of aggressivity. It's grades because it's meaning that it doesn't usually escape the brain. It's a primary brain cancer. So yeah, initially it was classed as grade 3. Under the new classification, because they change it every few years, it would be likely a grade 4, because now they take further, have more of an appreciation of the molecular characteristics of the tumor. So mine was, there's 2 different mutations that are looking at, which confer treatment sensitivity and your prognosis. And this is IDH1 and MGMT, which is a DNA repair protein. IDH1 it's an enzyme that's involved in the Krebs cycle, and that is dysregulated. So you get an accumulation of this product, which confers poorer prognosis. And I had that as being IDH1 wild type, which is the bad one. So I didn't have any preferential mutations. That I discovered all this on my own because I wasn't told a lot of this information, and I just wanted to know as much as possible. At this point, because I was having horrific seizures and I was very confused upon being told that I had this thing that I didn't really know much about, because I didn't know much about brain tumors at that point, I learned all these things about the treatment that I was being offered, and I'd just had an operation to remove most of the tumor. They couldn't remove all of it because there was residual disease in the motor cortex area of my brain.
Glad I could talk to you again, actually, Andrew, because actually your story has really inspired me a lot, actually, and I really love what you're doing. So, thanks for taking the time.
Same this way. This way.
Thanks. I appreciate that. So let's do a brief recap. Now, you were diagnosed about the same time I was, back in 2012, wasn't it?
Yeah, it would have been, well, the very beginning of 2013 is when I had my diagnosis.
Okay.
And all through 2012, I had horrific migraines. So it's always funny when people say when they were diagnosed, because you might have symptoms long before that.
Yeah,
some people might have an incidental finding when they're diagnosed. And so that's before they've had any symptoms, any idea. So, yeah, it's always funny, that one. But
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you don't sort of think back and look at them as anything significant until you're actually diagnosed.
And by the time you have symptoms, that's a sign that it's more advanced, usually.
That's right. Yeah, it's already late, getting pretty late into it. So, yeah. And yeah, I was exactly the same. It's like, once I was finally diagnosed, it was January 2012. But then I look back and they tell me all these symptoms. This is what happens when you get this sort of disease. And you look back and you think, wow, I've had these symptoms for like well over a year. So like, why couldn't we pick it up sooner? But
yeah, mine got to the stage where it's like my head exploded because I had a massive brain hemorrhage that nearly killed me.
Yeah. Yeah. And by then, it's like you survived just that.
Very, yeah.
Yeah. So that was incredible. But your diagnosis was now it's different to other types of cancer. And with the brain tumor, it's was it level 3?
Well, the classification keeps changing, and it changed in the guidelines. The guidelines changed again in 2021, taking into account more the molecular findings of the tumor. And so it would have at the time been classed as grade 3 anaplastic astrocytoma. But now they've split that class of tumors into 2 different subcategories, and now the more aggressive phenotype is classed into grade 4 brain tumor. They've even had it now whereby you'd think, oh, that's glioblastoma, but actually it's like a subset again. Okay. So it's grade 4, but it's this other subset of a grade 4 that's an astrocytoma, but it's not classed as being glioblastoma, which is another astrocytoma, which is a grade 4. Okay. But it's just, yeah, they keep changing it all the time. So in a few years from now, it'll probably be something else. Yeah. But it's still super aggressive and not, it keeps coming out as being more aggressive and not less. So
yeah. So apart from the category or the categories that they like to put things into, it was a very aggressive brain tumor, and it's something that most people don't survive more than a couple of years.
Yeah. And the reason they changed the classification so much is because you had a very broad range of types of tumors within those categories. So glioblastoma before was quite a broad category, and so was anaplastic astrocytoma, which was the other class of tumor that sometimes it's borderline. They don't know which area to put it in. And so, yeah, based on molecular characteristics and how it looks, and also not really arguments, but discussion between the MDT on what this actually is. There's a way that they just reach a consensus, and there's some disagreement. It's never, everyone agreeing this is what.
Well, we just have a look at the diet discussion online. You can see no one agrees on anything.
But you can get a good idea with cancer looking at the mitotic index, how quickly the cells are dividing, and what it looks like.
Yeah. So talking about, like, from the last time we spoke, and this whole thing, this diagnosis set you on a whole new path and studying. Now you're doing a PhD in cancer biology, right? So how's that going? What's happening with your research at the moment?
It's very untraditional because you can't really get anyone to fund this research. So it's self-funded, and I do it with a small research group called the Forever Young group at the University of Westminster. Okay. And we just do loads of different metabolic health studies with ketogenic metabolic therapy. And my area is the cancer area. So,
is your research, though, just on all cancers, how they react, or is it just on brain tumors?
For me, it's just on brain tumors because I'm biased and I wanted to focus on there. But what we are looking at applies to all cancers.
Yeah. Okay.
Just to a slightly lesser degree, but
right. Yeah. So less directly, but what you're basically focusing on is more nutrition-based sort of treatment of cancer, is it? Yeah.
And very closely monitoring patients. So because humans are fallible, we can get things wrong. Sometimes we lie when we're asked to report what we've eaten.
Yeah.
The patients on the study will have to take pictures of all their food, and everything has to be weighed out, and there are specific criteria. And also because people react differently to different foods, so you could give one person the exact same meal as another, they might respond metabolically very differently, and their ketones and blood sugar readings can be different. So usually that's less of a problem on a carnivorous ketogenic diet, but when you're adding all these other foods, usually it's the plant foods. Some people react differently to different foods. They have kind of like a sensitivity to them, or just a different carb tolerance, and so that can mess things up. Even things like seasonings, which sometimes people won't even report, but then when you go deeper, you realize that people are just adding all these different things like turmeric, which everyone likes to add, and can cause issues, which a lot of some people seem to underappreciate.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, when you're going through all this sort of stuff myself, there's always these gurus out there tell you things like turmeric will, it's anti-cancer, sort of herb or spice that will, great antioxidants and all this other, BS that, and in the end, it just does nothing except work against you. So,
well, in that form, I'd say with brain cancer, a lot of the research is in nanotechnology to try and get it past the blood-brain barrier.
Okay.
And so there's interesting research on that, but it's not practical. It's not something that you can just take loads of and have that effect, because it's not going to.
Yeah, I'll never reach it.
Even if you were able to take a therapeutic doses orally, it's just not going to get across the blood-brain barrier without significant toxicity.
Yeah.
You'd have to take so much of it, and it's not going to be worth it.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to sit there and eat a bowl of it, is it?
No, because it can cause so much damage to the liver too. If you're doing all these things, people just like to do so many different things and take all these supplements, and that can actually act against you and counteract the effects that you want. So
yeah, I agree. That's something I talk about regularly, is because supplements, there's never, the exception of a few. I haven't seen in the last 30 plus years, I haven't seen anything that actually does what it's advertised to do. Really, I haven't seen anything proven to help. And when you think about the toxicity of a lot of them, the fact they're very high in deuterium, they're completely manufactured anyway.
And there's all these carrier ingredients, and
it can be quite damaging to your liver and to other organs as well, your kidney and so on. So what are some of the diets that you are following or prescribing with these people that you are going through this treatment?
It's very personalized. Firstly, it's a 3-to-1 to 4-to-1 ketogenic diet, but not going straight into that. It's more about learning about what works for different patients, and there's different different circumstances, meaning because these are cancer patients, they're usually on certain drugs like dexamethasone to try and counteract the brain swelling that most patients have, because these are advanced stage brain cancer patients. They're not in the best of health when we see them, and so they might have already had surgery, or usually they have they might be on the standard of care, because it's very difficult to. We try and get them before that's happened.
Yeah.
But very few people will want to not have the standard of care. And so
Yeah, I think that's actually a good thing, that most people are a little bit wary of the standard of care these days. Like when you were first being treated, when I was being treated, to us it was a normal thing. It was just, this is it. This is the way we get treated, sort of thing. And we didn't really know of any options, really. So it's really good to see that at least, like the people that you are dealing with now, they are very wary of the standard of care and don't really want to do it. So at least they're trying something different. I think it's great.
Yeah, and the oncologist that we work with is very supportive as well. So,
well, that's good to have as well.
Yeah.
There's not many, unfortunately, out there that are willing to do things outside of standard of care.
No, that's why he actually was monitoring me for quite a few years after I just had frustrations with the oncologist that I was seeing before that, who was just telling me what I was doing was quite dangerous and unproven, and just in my head about the benefits. Because I don't know how you found it, but early on, when there wasn't really anyone doing this, 2012, 2013,
no,
people didn't really know much about these things, and so it was alien to a lot of people, and it was seen as just being this thing that children with epilepsy sometimes do, but there was no real evidence for it for cancer. It was just these preclinical studies, and the mouse studies had only just begun in that area. Thankfully, they were mostly in brain cancer, but it's very early stage at that point.
Yeah, that's right. But at least people like you are doing some great work with this stuff, and it's like you said, it's self-funded. And
very difficult.
Very difficult to get funding for these sorts of things, because obviously, like drug companies, they don't want to fund this sort of stuff.
It's not just the drug companies, though; it's also the universities.
Yeah, they rely heavily on. They also rely on funding from drug companies and things like that as well. So there's a problem.
There are some great studies that are going on that aren't, but if you're not following the narrative, if you're doing something completely different, there's a kind of apprehension to what the kind of things that we're doing, and so it's an unknown, and it's thinking how will this look if we're doing something completely different.
Yeah.
Because I learned about ketogenic diets just before my diagnosis, when I was doing a master's at the same university in nutritional therapy.
Yeah.
And at the time, that was seen as being very controversial. And after my diagnosis, I wanted to return to that, to finish that course. And they'd stopped it because it was seen as being one of the more controversial courses. And the Daily Mail did a massive expose on these kind of courses, and they just stopped them all at the university, so I couldn't go back to it.
Wow.
And then because they were teaching things like about ketogenic diets and touched on brain cancer, and
okay. Wow. Well, that's really sad, isn't it? I mean, really, you would think that universities. This is the problem a lot of us have. Is universities are supposed to be, where you can explore different things and learn these different things. And unfortunately, that's like you said, you have, if it's somewhat considered controversial, it's very difficult for them to actually keep these sort of things going. And it is what it is at the moment, I guess. And people like yourself, and this is what makes change that, and that's a good thing. It's just a bit of a struggle. So where can before we go any further, where can people help? Can people help fund some of the research that you're doing with this?
Yeah, so I have a website which is beatbraincancer.co.uk.
Okay.
And people can donate there.
Yeah.
We're also doing, we're also trying to get off the ground a study on female hormones in nutritional ketosis.
Okay.
We've already got most of the data for that. It's just having the funds to go further with it and publish it. Because it costs a lot of money just to continue. And so
people don't realize just how much money it takes to do these sort of studies and
crazy.
Research. It's a crazy amount of money. But if it doesn't get funding, like from like you said, like if it doesn't get funding from the universities or from drug companies or something like that, they have to rely on other people, like a crowdfunding sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it makes it difficult. Makes it very difficult. So now, when you were talking about before, like the personalized diet, sort of 3-to-1 and 4-to-1, are you talking fats to protein, or are you talking?
Well, it's easier if you don't have any carbs in the diet, because you're just counting fat and fat to protein.
Yeah,
that's one of the main reasons why early on I cut out all carbs, because I became so frustrated with having to count all these different figures, and then there was the whole total carbs and net carbs thing, and I thought, you know what, this is just causing me additional stress that I don't need, because I was weighing everything out. And I just found it was so much easier, and I was able to attain improved readings just not having any of the plants. Interestingly, I also found that I had a massive sensitivity to coconut oil, so I couldn't have that, and so I just switched to animal fats.
That's an interesting thing. Like, a lot of people hail coconut oil as one of the good sort of seed oils sort of thing,
Would it be seed oil, because it's a nut, isn't it? So
well, I suppose. Plant-based oil. Okay. But like people who have a lot of sensitivities to it, and especially cooking, it does oxidize very quickly at a low temperature. So things like that.
Because I did have salicylate sensitivity to it.
Oh, okay.
That was the issue. But you can have at very high temperatures with no issue.
Why exactly do you cut out the carbs? And I mean, I know, but for anyone listening, why do you cut the carbs out, especially for the people that you're doing these studies with?
Well, not necessarily for the people in the studies, because there's some people who have no issues with it and actually do better with some things like avocados and nuts and these things. So it's a lot of trial and error, seeing how people respond.
Okay.
Yeah, some people actually get better and more consistent readings by having some plants in. It's not going crazy, but it's interesting. I don't know why, but something.
Well, it is interesting.
Yeah, definitely. There's some things that have surprised me, but with different people. But for me, I started reading about oligoantigenic ketogenic diets, which oligoantigenic diets, that's had a long history with epilepsy. What it is you have certain foods which can act as seizure triggers, that they can even be ketogenic foods. They're often foods that people have sensitivities or allergies to. And so you just cut them out completely, and then that can prevent seizures. Everything that I've done is focusing on either reducing the severity or the frequency of the seizures that I'd developed through having the brain tumor and the epilepsy and all the seizures that I'd had after that. And so that was my main aim. And it just happened to be the case that all the things I was doing had anti-cancer benefits. Even to the point of the anti-seizure drugs that I chose to have when I was on them. I found that they were the ones that neurologists didn't actually want to give me, but they had the most evidence as repurposed drugs for the cancer.
Okay. Yeah.
So
have you tried reintroducing plants or any sort of carbs into your diet since?
Yeah, I have quite a few ketogenic carbs now. So I have avocados, I have macadamia nuts, I have unpasteurized olives. I make my own sauerkraut. I make my own yogurts. I class that as being like carby because it's more than I was used to, and it's goat yogurt that I make with specific cultures that have been shown to have anti-neuroinflammatory effects. So, yeah, I can have quite a few plants now, but they're considered like the ketogenic plants. It's still an animal-based diet because that's where most of my nutrition comes from. But I can tolerate avocado, which I had issues with before, and I do very well with olives. I've never had issues with olives, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's good.
But I do have the unpasteurized olives mostly.
Yeah.
Because most olives that you get, even if they seem perfect, are pasteurized.
Yeah, that's right. So you've recently finished your first marathon, full marathon. What was your preparation like for that, dietary wise?
Well, it's interesting because doing any kind of running like that used to, even half or a third of that distance used to trigger seizures for me. Yeah. So I'd say in terms of the diet, it was just continuing what I was doing. I have fish every day, which some people go crazy about, thinking, oh my God, he's going to get metal toxicity and all these things.
Yeah.
I tend to focus on frozen fish. The reason being, how I get it, it doesn't come in any plastics. It doesn't come in any tins. The only tinned fish I do have is cod liver. And I think maybe it's somewhat protected because it's in its own fat, and maybe that acts as a kind of barrier. I don't know. When I've had tests for metal toxicity, it doesn't come out with any alarming issues. Yeah. And so I have the cod liver, and it's not cod liver oil; it's the actual cod liver. I have cod liver once a week. I have lamb's liver once a week, just because it's like a multivitamin, just has everything. Yeah. So I have those two. I have lamb heart most days. Sometimes I grind it up. I like it because it has it's more fatty than if you would have cow's heart or from any other animal. I'll probably miss something out, but I have the fish every day. I have eggs every day, quite a lot of eggs actually, a lot of egg yolks in particular. If I need to have more fat, I'll often add egg yolks instead of butter because I can only have ghee and goat butter. I don't do well with cow butter.
Okay.
And so, yeah, in the morning, well, I say morning, it's usually my first meal, which is actually usually around midday after my walk and my gym, going to the gym and doing some work.
Yeah.
So that would be my first meal. It usually be eggs and fish, so some type of omelette with fish, and it's different fish, so either salmon or haddock, sometimes prawns, but not so often. And then the second meal, I've added a third recently just because I need more food. The second meal is usually the lamb heart or some type of fatty cut of lamb. I prefer lamb to other cuts of other types of meat just because I like the taste and and
I quite like lamb actually. The fatty, it's much fattier too. It's nice actually. I really like. Yeah.
And we have good quality lamb here. I feel like it's one of those meats that lambs don't really eat things that they're not supposed to. It's you're safer with how the animal's been raised and what it's been eating.
Yeah.
Every morning we make choices. What to eat, how to move, how to live. But what if the smallest choice, something as simple as a supplement, could help your body rebuild, restore, and thrive? Our bodies are incredible machines, constantly working to repair and renew. But modern life, stress, diet, aging, can slow that process down. That's where science meets nature. Cerule, a biotech pioneer, has spent decades researching how to support your body's natural systems. Stem Enhance Ultra, backed by clinical studies, boosts your body's release of stem cells, helping repair and renew tissues. Plasma Flow supports healthy circulation, delivering nutrients where they're needed most. And Cyactive balances inflammation, clearing the path for your body to heal. Sarah and Mark didn't always feel this way. Like many of us, they felt the weight of fatigue, aches, and stress. But they discovered a way to support their bodies from within. Choosing a healthier path isn't just about making a single decision. It's about embracing a lifestyle that supports your well-being every day. With Cerule, you're not just taking supplements. You're making a commitment to your health journey. Cerule's products aren't just supplements. They're a commitment to extraordinary health. Made from natural ingredients like Klamath algae and spirulina, they're designed to work with your body, not against it. For Sarah, it's energy to keep up with her day. For Mark, it's recovery to stay active. For both, it's a step toward a longer, healthier life. Backed by years of research, patents, and a mission to build extraordinary lives, Cerule is changing how we think about wellness. Small choices, big impact. Start with one capsule, one step toward vitality. With Cerule, you're not just living, you're thriving. Ready to feel extraordinary? Visit dcfit.cerule.com to discover Stem Enhance Ultra, Plasma Flow, and Cyactive, your partners in wellness.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to take a minute just to try and highlight some of the work that Andrew is doing. Now, in this interview, you're going to see he was diagnosed with a brain tumor when he was quite young. He's 27. And since then has gone on to finished his treatments or actually cut short his treatments and took it on himself with his diet to treat himself and to manage his cancer. This is a remarkable survival story in itself. Now, it's been 13 years and he's still going. But what he's doing in between is just incredible. He's recently just finished his first marathon. He does a lot of running. He does all of this on very little to no carbs, almost zero carb diets, high fat. Apart from all that, the research that he is doing for his PhD on cancer biology, this is all very much just crowdfunded. It doesn't get any funding from the government. It doesn't get any funding from any universities or any big corporation or anything like that, largely because it's dietary intervention and there's not much money to be made in that. So I just wanted to show people this is where you can really make a change, really make a difference in cancer research and other research, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. This is a place where you can donate to the grassroots of research, okay? This is real research that is being done on cancer biology, treating patients who have no alternative or are very wary of the standard of care, which they should be, as myself and Andrew have both been through and can testify to. So I'm going to leave a link in the description, and I'll put the link up on the screen for you. If you can just, any kind of donation, any small donation that you can spare for this research is really going to groundbreaking research that is just not being done elsewhere. Okay, so this is the website in GBM Metabolism Study. Okay, this is where you can make a great difference, Andrew Scarborough. Now, his story is just amazing by itself without all this research that he's actually doing to help other people and helping the patients that are in the study that they are doing right now. But of course, all this takes a lot of funding. It takes a great deal of money to get research done, and especially in fields that are not, so profitable for corporations. And having to rely on crowdfunding makes it incredibly difficult and a very slow process as well. Now, this next study, this is another GoFundMe. This next study Andrew is also involved in is research on hormone signatures of women in ketosis. Okay, so this is another vital piece of research that is being done. And again, this is not being done elsewhere. There's very few studies in this field that are actually being done today. So it's really a good chance for anyone who can spare just a couple of dollars each to chip in and help raise money for this groundbreaking research that Andrew is involved in, not just for cancer, but for other applications as well. Ketosis being in low carb diet and so on. So again, I'm going to leave the links in the description. If you feel you can make any small donation, it's always going to be appreciated. And I hope that you enjoy Andrew's story. I hope it inspires you to maybe contribute and to help to bring these studies to life and to bring a real result, hopefully to help people's health around the world. And I really appreciate anything that you can do to help Andrew and his research as well. Thanks, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the rest of the interview. Take care.
It's been eating.
Yeah, they're usually grass-fed all the way.
Yeah.
So, it's all
and
good.
I do often have duck eggs as well, because I just think that they tend to be higher in DHA, docosahexaenoic acid, which the brain is largely composed of. So a healthy brain.
Yeah. Well, again, duck eggs are usually like pasture raised as well.
And the yolks of their goes well.
Yeah. So, and I like duck eggs because just for their sheer size too, they're great. So just like two for the price of one.
Yeah, exactly. And I can get them from. There's a local garden centre that gets them from a local farm, and I go there and get them.
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
it's just a short walk from me, which is nice.
Oh, that's always good. Yeah, anyone's diet, doesn't matter where you are around the world, doesn't matter what diet you're on, a big part of that just depends on what you have access to, So
we should be eating locally and seasonally.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Not like you wouldn't have in the UK, you wouldn't have a banana in January in the winter.
No.
It's not aligned.
They're not really known for their tropical sort of, growing mangoes and coconuts and stuff like that. So,
no. That's where the whole deuterium thing comes in, because if you were naturally in those countries, it wouldn't necessarily be harmful to eat those foods because it's aligned with the latitude of where you are,
that's right.
and the time,
the local climate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't, because when you're in the sun like that, that naturally is depleting deuterium, and then it actually helps to have these things, these fruits in the seasonal, as that seems to be.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, if you were if you're in a tropical climate and you spend most of your time at the beach or surfing or so on, or you're very active anyway outside, then a high deuterium diet you can get away with. But it's very different when you are. I mean, also seasonally too. I mean, even in a tropical climate, these fruits don't grow all year round. But if you're in from the UK, or you have a cold winter and so on, you're not meant to be eating these foods year round. So even if you are active, you still spend, on average, you still spend less time in the sun in winter than you do in summer as well. So these are all things that need to be considered as well. But that's got a lot to do with it as well. Well, genetically and things like that, where you come from.
Yeah, I often wonder about that with ancestry. Yeah, I've got a mixed background, so I often wonder which one's more prevalent, or how does that work?
Now, people will tell us that. I mean, you've just been we're talking about the marathon. People always tell us about you need glucose. It's kind of a funny argument. You wouldn't think about it really, honestly, but these are some of the things that people use as a debating point against the carnivore diet, for example. But how did you feel doing your marathon on low to zero carbs?
Well, I did it completely fasted. I do all my runs completely fasted, even the longer ones. All I had was just water and a salt tablet. Pure, it's not unflavored salt.
Yeah.
But in my training, I did use exogenous ketones, particularly if I had to do a longer run, just because I felt better. And that, it helped with some of the inflammation massively.
Okay.
And so, I used original ketone, which is it's a bioidentical ketone. It's a ketone monoester. So it's identical to what you're producing from what you're producing from the liver when you're converting fatty acids into ketones.
Yeah.
So you're just taking that exogenously, and it's very potent because
I think that makes a difference
than salts.
Yeah. Well, the bioavailability, like you're saying, it mimics what we produce from the liver anyway. So that makes a very big difference, I think, because most people, when it comes to especially like endurance sort of sports like marathons, running and stuff like that, they always carbo load, right? Which is, thinking back now, just some crazy stuff. But they basically just they think they're going to store more glucose. I mean, they're just storing more fat, right, for the run, and making them heavier and slower and so on and so on. So, I mean, and they take all kinds of other drugs like supplements. You got to have protein powders and all these other things. And I've seen, like, when I was big into the sports, triathlons and stuff, I never carried this stuff myself, but I would watch athletes that actually literally have a belt with these little bags of stuff like gels, and there are all sorts of crap
over it. And one thing that I couldn't relate to at all with the running community and runners is there's this obsession with I don't know if you ever experienced this, but this obsession with poo, and just even sometimes thinking about, oh, I'm gonna have to go in the bush somewhere halfway through the run and all this stuff, and I'm thinking, I've never experienced any of this. Like, what are you talking about? They're constantly, because these gels, they just go straight through you.
They go straight through them. Yeah.
And so why would you want that?
Yeah. The standard athletic sort of diet, the fitness industry diets, high in carbohydrates, they just go straight through them.
Yeah, they've got all these GI issues all the time, and they're having to battle against that constantly, and that can't be good.
No, that can't be good. I mean, especially if you're doing a marathon, like a full marathon, you're in a public event. There's not a lot of bathrooms along the way,
No.
And I've literally seen people relieve themselves and just keep going.
I never had any of these issues. My system is very predictable.
I'm the same. Now, like, admittedly, like back in the day, like I always made sure before an event that I had already been. I didn't want to be carrying that around, sort of thing. But nowadays, like, it's not even it's a non-issue. Don't even think about it.
I only think about it seeing other people agonizing. Oh, where am I going? What am I going to do?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
do I have my gels?
The whole run, they're sort of looking for trees,
But yeah, the gel thing is just something that people obsess over, and they're always asking me, "Oh, how are you going to fuel?" And I tell them, and they're just absolutely shocked, saying, "Oh, you can't do that."
You can't do a marathon faster.
They're struggling, and then I'm very relaxed when I run, even though I'm running at a decent pace.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. So, and again, like you say, like all your training runs, everything, or even your longer ones, you do this completely fasted. So, I mean, you don't eat again like from the night before, or is it earlier than that? Is it longer fast or?
Well, you mentioned carb loading. I do this strange thing, which is kind of like a fat loading.
Okay. Yeah.
Where a few days before, I'll have I'll bump up the fats and be quite, very high fat.
Oh, that's a great take. So, you've gone completely opposite from carb loading to fat loading. Yeah.
But then the day before, I'll actually be high protein but low fat. Okay. Because it's just easier on my digestion. Yeah. And I like to have I like to just feel like I have a completely, I mean, I have a flat stomach anyway, but I like to feel like I don't have anything else to use, and I can just use, even though I don't have much of it, stored body fat for energy. So, And I feel like I've benefited from those days where it's super high fat, and then I can it's easier just having a lower fat, higher protein day before. Yeah. Which it sounds completely crazy.
No, actually, it makes sense actually, because when you have, like, when you're fat loading, I mean, generally speaking, if you increase your fats dramatically, like in a short period of time, you end up going to the toilet a lot. So you don't want that before the marathon, So
no, I have some days I have some days that are actually naturally lower fat because I just won't want it, and then my body makes up for it on other days of the week where I have very high fat days. So I try not to force it. Yeah, I just naturally have days where I don't want loads of fat. Yeah. But it still keeps
I think that's the same with eating in general. Like you don't want to have to force yourself to eat. And I mean, do you do like prolonged fast at all in your routine?
I try not to now because I was doing too much. And with all the exercise I'm doing, I need to make sure I eat a lot. And I find it very difficult to eat enough to keep my weight on.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think a lot of people have struggled to get like everything they need in just one meal at like each day, sort of thing. So I think, you know, for a lot of people, I think it's good to have at least 2 or 3 meals just to get everything going, you know, to keep everything maintaining or growing or so on, whatever you want.
Yeah, I have 3 meals a day at the moment, which I was having 2 meals for a long time, but I was losing weight.
Yeah.
Even though it was high calorie and I was doing a lot.
Yeah,
I need 3.
Yeah, I said the thing is too, like our daily routines, like we're talking about eating naturally, but we're also doing things that are not natural, like running marathons. It's not a natural thing for us to do. You know, we're not meant to be going and spending our mornings in the gym, for example. It's it's not a natural thing to do. So we are going to have to perhaps eat more than our natural state would, you know. So I don't think there's anything wrong with eating 2 or 3 meals a day, or 4 if you need them. All right? If you can't eat a big enough meal in one sitting, sort of thing.
Even things like your exposure to artificial light, it changes your hunger and satiety hormones, and it changes it can even change how you metabolize food.
Oh, okay.
You have lots of people who eat watching TV or in front of a computer,
or that blue light.
That light coming in is. There's even I think there's a Twitter account that's on the blue light diet.
Oh, okay.
And it's talking about how it's a lot of tweets about how blue light is affecting, as I was saying, just your food choices and stress hormones and circadian biology and all these things, and makes a lot of sense. Just it
does. Yeah,
the eyes are part of the brain, and so like going into the retina is changing expression of these clock genes in the brain and all throughout the body.
Well, you also absorb it through your skin as well. So, I mean, we spoke about this last time as well. We talked a little bit about circadian biology, and you're quite big into that. And some of the hacks that you do at night, for example, you use red lights and even candles, sometimes.
I have a before I go to bed, I turn off. I shouldn't have it anyway, probably, but I turn off Wi-Fi and all the electricity. Apart from, I have a CD player, a really old CD player in the corner of the room on the other side, and I play relaxing music on that because that helps me. I found whenever I've tracked my sleep, it's much better when I have that noise in the background. I don't know why, but
I'm the same actually. I have the only thing I have like close enough to the bed that I can hear is like 432 hertz music that just plays at night. That just helps me to sleep easier.
Yeah. I used to have that going through. I used to have that going through Wi-Fi, but then I just didn't felt my head was feeling a bit funny. So that's why I moved to a really old CD player that I got from a charity shop. Super cheap.
Well, I just use a little MP3 player.
Because I just thought it's not going to have the same emissions coming from.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that, I mean, you can't avoid all these things, but you can at least try and minimize your exposure to all this stuff, you know. So, other thing is like, when you eat like, I think it's a good idea to eat outside in natural light. Is that something you adhere to as well?
Well, not always, but usually by a window at least.
Yeah.
And afterwards, I will go for a short walk.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good. Yeah. Going for a walk afterwards is good.
Yeah. Having activity afterwards has shown to be important for blood sugar regulation, and just, I think mentally it feels good. So I do.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's many reasons why it's good just to be outside for a start, but to go for a walk after a meal just feels really good as well. You know, I've been doing it for a long time. Sorry?
I was just saying I have a lot of green spaces around me, so it's...
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, me too. Yeah. I've got a huge yard at the moment, so it's really good.
Nice.
So I spend a lot of time outside just barefoot. Actually, I spend most of my days barefoot these days. So when it comes to how much of all of this does this affect, you know, your study and your research, I should say, and your lifestyle? How much of that do you incorporate this in trying to help other people with your research?
Not so much, because you have to start with baby steps.
Yeah.
If you try and bombard people with all of these different things, it just becomes overwhelming.
Yeah.
They've just been diagnosed with a terminal and incurable type of brain cancer. And then if you're telling them you have to now do all of this stuff, people find it difficult enough just trying to stick to any kind of diet.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, you just have to look online and look how difficult it is for people. Even diabetics, you know, they go through that. They will literally lose limbs because they can't change their diet. You know,
I find where you get the most success is if you get these people together, and then there's as a group they can help each other out and provide moral support, and it's a very social thing. We've in our culture, in different cultures as well, just eating has become such a social yet antisocial thing. Meaning that we have all these convenience foods and all these just events where there's cakes everywhere, and we like to reward ourselves and celebrate, and we use this, even the words we use around it, it's just very unhelpful.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, even the word treat, you know, treat yourself, you know, and reward yourself, give yourself these rewards, and so on. You know, like, it's exactly right. It's become so much of our culture, just daily habits, that, you know, like, I've been good this week, so I'm going to treat myself, you know.
Yeah, I turn it around and I just think if I do a workout, I'm rewarding myself with what my body actually wants and needs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. You really have to flip the script a bit, and I do that. You know, when I see treats and things like that, I do get tempted, and I think, like, you go shopping for food and you think, oh wow, you know, I wouldn't mind. You know, that bakery smells great. You know.
Yeah.
But
for me, a treat would be a big juicy steak.
Oh yeah,
it can be expensive, so occasionally I'll splash out and I'll get a really nice cut.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's exactly right. They're getting more and more expensive now too.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, I've been good this week, so I'm gonna treat myself to like a ribeye or something. You know, something nice and big and juicy. But yeah, I agree. I totally agree. It's like, now I look at these foods and I think, well, you know, these are setback foods. You know, they are foods that literally hold you back from trying to get to the goals that you want. You're trying to achieve. You know, so these are setback foods, and I don't want to go backwards. You know, we want to keep moving forward, yeah. And that's the whole point of it, right? The whole point of getting healthy and staying healthy and so on. You know. So, but unfortunately, people still think, well, you know, I've been good, so I'm going to give myself some candy or a cake or something, you know. Oh well, like you said, it's something so ingrained in our culture. It's very difficult to change, you know, especially if you watch movies or TV, you know.
Yeah, that's what helps to know other people who are similar minded.
Yeah,
is you changing that culture. It's all about cultures and what you're exposed to, who you're around.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that's actually really helped about maybe social media, I guess, and YouTube. And there are communities of people out there from around the world. Like you're in the UK, I'm in Australia, but we can talk about this stuff and, you know, inspire people and hopefully, you know, show people that, you know, look, you're not the only one. You know, we're all doing this together, sort of thing. So I think that's really good. That really helps. I mean, we build these communities, you know, and it is building. It is building. So it's good. So for you, I mean, I don't sort of get too much into this identifying sort of politics and all this sort of stuff that people love to label themselves, you know. But you're very much what now people are saying it is the carnivore diet. Is that something that you tell other people about much, or?
Well, it's carnivore adjacent, right? It's not. Yeah, I don't really. I focus more on the fact that I'm eating real food.
Yeah.
Especially around the running community. Because in my running club, they've been fascinated about my past and how I am one of the fastest runners in the group. And I even won an award for that last year. But
oh, wow.
They are fascinated by the fact that I don't need any of these fuels when I'm doing these runs, and when I do races, as I say, I'm one of the faster ones, despite not having to have all these gels and all these different things and being hyper focused about my diet. And I don't have all the cakes that they like to have after and the treats. And
all these clubs are the same, aren't they? Like, you know, I used to be in these triathlon groups and all these other running groups and things like that. And it's like literally they would go for a run and then go to a cafe and just hold down all these, cakes and stuff like donuts and it's just junk food, right? And I was like, you just destroyed anything that that run did for you. You know, like why are you eating this stuff? You know, and looking back now, I'm thinking, why? It's even worse. But they just love this stuff. They love it. Like you said, it's a social sort of thing afterwards as well. They've all been for a run together, and now they want to do the socializing side of it. You know.
The other thing I've had is people who are around the same age as me, sometimes a bit younger, who they don't know how old I am, and they say, "Oh, well, wait till you get to my age. I've got all these problems." Yeah. And then I tell them, "You do know how old I am, right?" And they don't know.
Yeah, because you're going to be 40 this year. Is that right?
Yeah, in just a few months. So.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I get that too. But that's crazy. I mean, it's such a remarkable story. Yours is, I mean, diagnosed. So you were diagnosed about when you're about 28.
I was 27. Yeah,
27. Yeah, and I mean, you've had these seizures, you're having these epileptic fits, and all these sort of things going on.
That caused a lot of brain damage.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, and the treatments that do a lot of brain damage as well.
Yeah.
Then the time spent not just recovering from or recovering with cancer, but recovering from the treatments. And now
I stopped the treatment after a while.
Yeah.
Because if I'd continued, so I'd be a complete mess.
Yeah. Yeah, and it does make a mess of you when chemotherapy just destroys your organs, and especially when they're doing things like, especially radiating the brain and things like that as well. It absolutely destroys it, and it just leaves you in a state of, I don't know. Well, they call it chemo fog, and they call it, and you end up with diseases like dementia and all sorts of other problems as well. So thankfully, I mean, you've recovered incredibly well.
Yeah.
You've finished.
The other thing with the chemo is it decimates your gut bacteria.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the gut-brain relationship. A lot of people don't realize you have a brain biome as well.
Yeah. That's right. Everyone keeps talking about the gut biome these days, like they most of them don't know what it is anyway. But it's the brain as well. But like chemo destroys that. Like it just, I mean, and depending on how heavy you go, like the chemotherapy I did afterwards, like I was bringing up thick layers of skin from my stomach and my esophagus and everything like that. So like it tore a big hole and it had a massive ulcer. So it really destroys the gut. So it's just remarkable the healing that you can get, or the way the body can heal and make progression from the state where, I know you were in a very bad way when you finished your treatments. And I mean, basically they told you there was pretty much no hope, really, wasn't there?
Yeah.
But look at you now, it's like 13 years later, you're finished, you're doing the PhD in cancer biology, you're running, you're going to the gym, you just finished a marathon. It's incredible. What a story. And low to almost zero carb.
Yeah, a lot of days I am zero carb.
Yeah.
But just on other days where I feel like I need more more energy than or more mass of food, then I have the additional things, the nuts.
Yeah, but I mean, even like a clean carnivore diet, there are some carbohydrates involved. Like if they have dairy, especially, like, so, I mean, it's not like it's like 100% zero carbohydrates sort of diet.
Yeah, I think with some of the anti-cancer mechanisms, it gets reduced down to just about glucose and carbs.
Yeah,
but it's actually a lot more. There's more mechanisms. It's not just about that. It's about shifts in the gut microbiome, which are preferential. Also, just being generally anti-inflammatory and being so nutrient dense and having bioavailable nutrition, and that supports the brain and the digestive functioning. Yeah,
exactly. Like when people tell you it's a restrictive diet, but like you said last time we spoke, actually, I remember you saying it's not restrictive in terms of nutrients. They actually have more nutrients in this diet than the standard Western or heavy carbohydrate diet.
Yeah. And people fear the glutamine because they've heard cancer cells use glucose and glutamine as major fuels, but a ketogenic diet is naturally high in glutamine, and glutamine can actually be beneficial for the gut, and then through that the brain. And so
well, see, that's a very reductionist sort of look at it, though. Look at glutamine. Like, I know, like, even Professor Seafood talks, cancer can ferment glutamine, but there's other processes in the body. Like, there's always other processes in the body, nothing else. So
yeah, it's definitely context dependent, because glutamine is an issue in certain contexts. Yeah, so one, for example, is in cancer cachexia, where the cancer is scavenging glutamine from skeletal muscle and from the blood.
Yeah. But there's always the point is that anyway. The point is that there's always other mechanisms going on in the body and everything else.
And what's happening in all those different stages in the electron transport chain.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's just so many different processes before all this gets broken down. So they're just looking at this one little point. It's just a real reductionist sort of viewpoint of one thing. So I think that's the way the whole body works. Yeah. So.
And in the brain, the main issue is glutamate rather than glutamine.
Yeah. So
it's where you have all that hyperexcitability.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's incredibly interesting stuff. I mean, the body has so many mechanisms and processes that it goes through. But I won't hold you up any longer. It's been been very generous with your time already. But one last question, because you're the guru on nutrition and talking about cancer, and we're talking. This is all about hormones and stuff as well. So, what do you think about glucose supporting hormone production?
Oh, this is like a current fad at the moment, isn't it? I've seen.
Yeah, the sugar diet or the snake diet.
It sounds like it's a short-term fix for people who are just messing up their hormones in some way from something else, and then it might normalize things in the short term, but then they're constantly having to do it kind of like they're a diabetic,
Yeah.
They're constantly having to then have all that fruit and all that sugar just to keep on a level. And so essentially it's the same thing as being pre-diabetic, isn't it? It's not helping, it's causing further issues.
Yeah, well, they're definitely addicts. And I mean, they can't even do a short video without eating. And
exactly. And
they just keep feeding. It's like, so yeah, definitely addicts.
I'm not a fan of it.
No,
I think in the long term, it's going to cause issues.
Oh, absolutely. Considering one, micronutrients, which you don't get any from sugar, but also the effects on their liver and organs and things like that. So it's
it makes more sense to focus on nutrient-dense foods that are nourishing the body.
Yeah.
Rather than thinking, if I eat just loads of sugar and sugar-containing foods and not much else, then
Every day, we choose what to wear. A quick decision, right? But what if the clothes we put on our skin, our body's largest organ, are choosing something for us? Up to 60% of what touches our skin gets absorbed into our bloodstream. Synthetic fabrics like polyester and nylon often carry chemicals, phthalates, xenoestrogens, that can disrupt our hormones. For men, that might mean fertility challenges. For women, it could mean irregular cycles or mood shifts. In 1992, a human reproduction study revealed a staggering truth. Sperm counts had dropped by over 50% in just 50 years. A year later, environmental health perspectives pointed to environmental chemicals like xenoestrogens as a key culprit. These chemicals found in many synthetic fabrics don't just affect men, they can throw off hormonal balance for everyone. Most of us don't know this when we wear synthetics to the gym or in everyday life. We pick clothes for style or convenience or sport, but what if we could choose clothes that protect our health? That's where Raw Radioactive Wear comes in. Our clothing is made from natural fibers, organic cotton and more to come, free from harmful chemicals. No hormone disruptors, just pure breathable materials that let your body thrive. This is our mission. Raw Radioactive Wear isn't just about fashion. It's about feeling good in your skin, knowing you're reducing your exposure to chemicals that could harm your body. For you, it's peace of mind about your health. It's about confidence in your body's balance. Small choices make a big difference. Swap synthetic shirts for organic cotton with Raw Radioactive Wear. You're choosing health, sustainability, and a future where you feel like you. Ready to make the switch? Visit raw-radioactivewear.myshopify.com and discover clothing that's as real as you are. Wear pure, live free.